Hello everyone, this is Jed Shlackman. I'm a holistic counselor and spiritual energy healer, and for this video I'll be speaking on the topic of addictions, and specifically looking at how shame and guilt are often a key part of an addictive pattern or process. People engage in addictive behaviors often for multiple reasons. So there can be more than one reason or factor figuring into that particular pattern. Often there are really important emotional issues that are present, and someone, in a sense, is using their addictive substance or behavior to avoid or escape from some type of feeling or emotion. That could vary from one person to another, although there are some pretty common themes or patterns. So in essence, when we're feeling any type of pain, whether it's physical pain or emotional pain, we tend to want to get away from that feeling. Pain isn't pleasant, of course, so if you can find some method to relieve yourself of that pain, even if it's just a short-term or temporary relief, it's very natural to do that, to seek that form of relief. And all kinds of addictions can serve that purpose or play that role. So anything that in some way distracts you from what you're feeling, or numbs what you're feeling, or gives you some alternate or opposite type of feeling, can start to become addictive, because in a sense it does work for you, at least temporarily. So as human beings, we're all at some point developing some of these types of patterns where we're feeling or experiencing something unpleasant or undesirable, and we find something we can do that helps relieve us of that feeling, and we repeat that behavior since it was effective in some way, it served some purpose originally at that time. We have that pattern now in our subconscious that we can go back to repeat that pattern or behavior or habit. So it's very easy to do that. Once it's there in your subconscious, it's very easy to repeat that behavior. You do it, in a sense, without stopping to think. So often when we engage in those types of addictive behaviors, there's a part of us, an aspect of our consciousness, that does see the harm that's coming from it. So let's say you're using some addictive drug and it's causing harm to your body, or it's causing you to act in ways that are sabotaging your relationships or your job. You're conscious in some way of the harm, of the damage you're doing to yourself or your life by engaging in that habit. But since that habit is somewhat ingrained in you, or something that's coming up to be acted out without your conscious control, you're finding it difficult to stop yourself. And so you're doing something that you consciously wish you weren't doing, that you see in some way as bad or negative. And since you're continuing that, you're starting to really judge or condemn yourself for having this pattern, this addiction. And so you may feel some shame or guilt about it. You don't like what you're doing, and carrying from that not liking your actions, you will often not like yourself. So we tend to associate ourself, our sense of who we are, with our behaviors and our actions, how we present or project ourselves into the world around us. So if we're doing these things that we see as undesirable, as bad, negative, harmful, perhaps unethical or immoral, then we often will carry that self-judgment, self-criticism, and especially self-condemnation. And so if we're thinking of ourselves in that way, then it creates feelings of guilt and shame. And unfortunately, when you feel something unpleasant, which could include guilt or shame, you may be looking to find something that helps you escape from whatever you're feeling. And of course, those addictive habits or behaviors have in the past helped you escape from or suppress unpleasant feelings, so you're likely to go back to those habits or addictions to react or respond to feeling guilt or shame. So those feelings or emotions can actually further add to the emotional stimulus for you to engage in your addictive pattern. So it becomes kind of like this vicious cycle, this negative feedback loop, where the guilt and shame are driving you even further into your addictive habit. With that understanding, the big question is, what can we do about this? It's certainly difficult to exert conscious control over the behavior, to stop yourself from seeking that feeling of relief when you're having those emotions. There are various steps you can take to make it difficult to have access to that particular habit or behavior, but eventually you may have to deal with the temptation or the opportunity that may arise to carry out that addictive behavior. So you want to go even deeper into your consciousness to help clear away whatever emotions and subconscious programs are fueling this addiction. And you can combine that with things you can do on a more conscious level, such as mindfulness exercises, physical exercises, things to calm or settle your nervous system. So there are many resources that you can apply on a more conscious level. You might be part of some type of support group. You might have that social support to help you feel more connected, to feel supported, to feel valued and appreciated. Yet you want to bring that feeling even deeper into your consciousness, which can include healing your past, whatever experiences you've gone through in your life, where you felt some type of physical or emotional pain, and where you have in some way judged or condemned yourself, where you've created some sense of guilt or shame, some sense of not being worthy, not being valuable, not being a quote-unquote good person. So wherever that may come from on a subconscious level, it's very valuable to access those subconscious thoughts and feelings so that you can recognize them and release them, so you can bring into that part of your consciousness a new story or narrative about yourself, about who you truly are, seeing yourself as lovable, valuable, worthy, regardless of what past experiences you've had, of what past actions you've engaged in. Kind of seeing your human identity from a more holistic perspective, understanding that as we go through our human life, it's not unusual, in a sense it's natural to develop some forms of addictions to seek relief from what we're feeling in some manner that may turn out to be unhealthy in the long term. So to forgive yourself for that, to accept your humanness, your vulnerability, your susceptibility to those types of patterns, to see yourself as a work in progress, where you can take what you've learned from these experiences, from this process of having an addiction and progressing and healing, getting to a place where that addiction no longer has its control over you, where you're no longer immersed in that pattern, and using the wisdom you've gained through this process to both further empower yourself and to provide support for others, to be an example for other people that no matter what they're struggling with, no matter what addiction they may feel has consumed their life, they have the potential for healing as well, for reconnecting with that aspect of themselves that is ultimately whole, that is not something to feel shameful about. So for those that are struggling with any type of addiction, whether it's a form of addiction that tends to be socially allowed or accepted, or one which is socially frowned upon or condemned, or even something that is illegal, which you could be punished for through the justice system, whatever addictive pattern you may have, you have the opportunity to work on this process of healing, to forgive yourself, to release any guilt or shame that you may be carrying, to find some sense of inner peace, some feeling of self-acceptance, of loving and valuing yourself no matter what you've gone through, no matter what you've done, no matter what anyone else may think of you as well, so that you really have nothing to suppress or hide anymore, so that you can embrace and own, in a sense, your whole story, everything that you've actually done or experienced in your life. You don't have to suppress that or hide it from yourself or anyone else. You can just be present with it and realize that you're growing and evolving, you're transforming. You don't have to be stuck in that previous identity forever. In fact, it's impossible to remain stuck in any moment forever. Time is continuing to flow, life is continuing to unfold. We always have new opportunities to transform and shift our identity, to become something greater than we've been up until now. So I hope that this discussion, this presentation, has given you some insight, some optimism, some ideas about how you can move forward on your path and find greater peace, a greater sense of wholeness and acceptance within yourself. For those that are interested in holistic health and well-being, you can watch some more of my videos on these subjects. I also have many resources on my website, phinsights.com. That's phinsights.com. For now, I'd like to wish everyone a wonderful day. Namaste.